Sure, I think so. One of the most important point here is that today's subject is human-centric design sensibilities in today's milieu. And I feel that this subject is really very, very vast and left to each and every individual's understanding as such. Hence, what we feel is, what we thought was that let each and every individual put his expression first as a few slides, and that is what Ayush and Amit are going to do, and then we'll take further the discussion. So Amit, if you could start off with that particular your presentation, a short presentation, and then Ayush you can, so that we'll roll the discussions then on.
So, of course, design is by default human-centric. Everything we do, everything it has to be human-centric. There's no two ways about it. We design everything for our own comfort, pleasure, gratification, to make life better for others. Even if we say we are designing for somebody else, we are designing for ourselves and our fellow human beings. So that's by default. All our designs, all our and this is of course a picture of Bombay, which brings out the stark contrast between the two worlds that we live in, and that's how humanity has always more or less existed across cultures, across geographies, across politics. There have always been the privileged ones and not so privileged ones. But when we talk humans, we all humans, right? And next, of course, we design beautiful spaces for our patrons. We are in a patron-driven business. Next, but to design those spaces, there are so many human efforts you go in, and in under various different circumstances. So when we talk about human-centric design, is also for me relates to human-centric construction systems, ecosystems, the world we live in. The biggest challenge I feel personally a lot is that when you're designing fit-outs within glass-clad, massive, fancy buildings, but when those fit-outs are happening, there is no ventilation. There are no, working facilities are a few floors up or down. And we put in safety regulations. We tell our teams to put on safety shoes, helmets, vests, safety gear, blah, blah, blah. But it's so suffocating. When we go for site visits, we can't even stay there for 15 minutes and we start palpating. It's impossible to stay in that environment. And there are these fellow human beings who slog in day and out for hours together in those conditions. And why can't we make it better for them during that duration? Before the air conditioning comes on, at least we can have good ventilation systems in those buildings. And that's something which always gets me thinking. We fight with the building management, we fight with the powers to be, and it's a continuous struggle. Just came across this very interesting Instagram video. Just wanted to share it with you all.
परेशान आम इंसान जो भूखते इसका दुष्परिणाम वो भी भूखत रहा खेतों में करता है काम जो किसान सूखे में जल गई फसल और फसल का उसे न मिला भुगतान परिश्रम औरत का उतना ही जितना मर्द करता कंस्ट्रक्शन पे काम पर कोई स्पेशल सुविधा नहीं न सुरक्षा न मिला सम्मान धूप में उनके बच्चे खिले रेत में उस पर न किसी का ध्यान बीमार पड़ता कोई ना मिलता जुर्माना भले चले जाए प्राण चलो सब आज लेते हैं प्रण किसान गरीब मजदूर है से प्राथमिक सुरक्षा यही मांग करते हैं हम चलो सब आज लेते हैं प्रण किसान गरीब मजदूर है हीट वेव से प्राथमिक सुरक्षा यही मांग करते हैं हम यही मांग करते हैं
I wish I had that kind of charisma and that kind of fun thing to put my point across, but this was really again, very awakening, and it put right the reality in our faces. So this is another video. So that video reminded me of this thing. So when I joined SPA in 1988, this movie was being shot. And whenever anybody joins my studio, I request them to see this movie. My kids have seen this movie numerous times. I don't know how many of you have. And whosoever hasn't, I would request them to watch this movie. But from this movie, I picked up this 1-minute clip which I would want to share with you all.
This thesis examines the role of architects and their architecture in a third world city, with Delhi as a specific case study.
छोटू को भेजना और खाने का ऑर्डर ले लेंगे।
Just
Every
for
urban
context,
city
this is the
consists
thesis
of
jury
two
happening.
parts, a city and a non-city. And the city and the non-city are at war with one another. Now the city consists of a number of institutions, of houses, offices, shops, roads, sewage systems. All these institutions are built by the architect engineer. Now the non-citizen has no institutions. He lives and works in the gaps between these institutions. He defecates on top of the sewage. He designs them so that they say to the non-citizen, stay out of here, keep out, this is not your area. It's a way of establishing territory, like animals. Bears leave scratch markings on the trees, and tigers have a mixture of urine and scent gland which they spray to say, this is my territory. Now, in the human being, this urine and scent gland is replaced by the architect, and he establishes territory by manipulating the built environment. He says, this is my space, this is your space, you can come up to here, but you can only come up to here.
The point being simple, this movie was made in, as I said, 1988, and today, so many decades later, and when we call ourselves one of the biggest global powers and blah, 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 still, this is the reality that still continues to be. And it's so stark in our faces every day as architects, as designers. And I'm not looking at answers, I'm not looking at anything, I just wanted to make a point here to just remind ourselves of the so-called human-centric spaces that we build. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you.
So I'll be very quick and brief, and since the topic was about human-centric design, kind of say what my thoughts are. Firstly, we're human beings. We design with only our perspective, and it's the only perspective we possibly can have. One of the very important things that makes us human is our memories, our experiences. Do we really build upon them, and do we look at that as a primary raw material in whatever we're doing? This is a project that we did, and we'll quickly run through the 3 slides. It was a very large house in Bikaner, the house of the last ruler of Bikaner, Naren Singh Ji. And the idea was, can we draw upon memories of that one home that we might have visited as a child, that grand uncle's home, which is always kept beautiful, where you're always welcome, and that as a central thought behind a project. Memory as a central raw material to the idea of human-centric design. Memories that we carry, memories that we make, memories that we run away from, memories that we hold dear to us. So perhaps memories are not given as much of a weightage today as they possibly could, and the potential is huge. So these are just small vignettes to show you, ways in which we evoke memory. A piano may have a person sitting or not, but something that draws you to it and says, possibly there is something happening out there. Elements, things found that are framed and put up, perhaps memories of somebody else, but a space comes alive by the thought that it was lived in. Now, one other question that we would like to raise, or I would like to raise, is the man-hours or human hours per square foot. We live in one of the most populous countries in the world. As Amit was talking about, the maker is a person who creates these spaces. And I would further the conversation and says, how much can we use? A typical conversation says, labor kaise kam kare, paisa kaise kam kare, time kaise kam kare. But here, if we look objectively at where we are right now, where we are as a country, probably we should be looking at the opposite. How many people can we employ per square foot? It does not mean that your budgets are going up. It just means we're employing more and more people, looking at the construction industry as a way of getting and redistributing wealth. Is that possible? I'm sure it is, but it just requires us to think a little differently and probably emote a little differently with our patrons. This is a project we did in Washington, and we used really expensive, interesting techniques. Our aim was to we were really trying hard to hit a square foot rate of human hours alone, excluding raw material costs, excluding labor costs, excluding all the other costs. We were trying to hit a cost of about 8,000 rupees a square foot. We managed it, but I think we can do more. It was a project that afforded it, and it's just a thing for you to consider in the projects that you're working on. And this is the other place where I would like to kind of, the same way as I'm pointing out a contradiction as a possibility, the same way we very often look at large, vacuous, empty spaces, photographs devoid of human beings, which look very nice, very glossy, very lovely. Fact is, community makes us. We are a social animal. Could we perhaps think about people per square foot as a potential parameter in evaluating the quality and the worth of our design? The world is changing rapidly. The largest contributor to global warming is the construction industry. We are all aware of that. We often shy away from that. Perhaps we can embrace that thought. This is a project we did in Goa for Serendipity Arts Festival, trying to see what is the possible lowest, impact, highest person, community possibility that we can look at. Now, this is not really a real project. There are no toilets, there's no plumbing, there's no air conditioning, yes. But this is how the people who were building all those bridges in Goa were living. Is it a viable way to live? Hell yeah. Why not? It's just a question of us willing to bend the rules and bend the expectations that we've been brought up with. Air conditioning, large empty spaces, dining room, bedroom, drawing room. Is it perhaps an opportunity for us to question how does a separate drawing room and bedroom add the humanness of who we are and our spaces? That was it.
Thank you, Ayush. I think so. If I have to take this discussion further ahead, I think so. Amit brought out two very important points. One was the comfort in human-centric, and one of the most important point is that if we as an architect and designer are designing something, we are bound to do something which is human-centric. It cannot be non-human-centric. If we are doing it, it would be something different. Ayush brought a very important other point, which was, it's a very different and a very important angle. He connected human with two different units. One is the man hours with another was a square feet, because he loves that craftsmanship and he loves that human centricity, touch of human feelings or emotions getting involved with that design of space. Having said so, Shrikant, I want you to elaborate what is your thought process about human-centric design spaces.
I couldn't prepare this presentation because I thought it was not necessary. But I have some thoughts about this whole topic. Like a previous speaker said, that the very act of construction starts from a need, and that comes from human beings. Cities are built for us. Infrastructure is built for us, houses, structures, every space that we occupy is built for a certain purpose, and that purpose is human need. It's nobody else's but human need, so there's no discussion about it. But why are we still having this discussion when everything around us is done with the purpose of being human-centric? Because I think the discussion is still happening because there are different ways of looking at being human-centric. Like you have a different perspective that you just put across. But what I feel about it is probably we are being human-centric in isolation largely than in coexistence with the larger context. So we build spaces that are safe. Safety is a parameter. That is safety of human beings. We build spaces that are effectiveness. You want to talk about once you get down your school bus, how much distance are you walking to your classroom? Efficiency. There is efficiency applied in every aspect of space planning. Then we build spaces to be more lively with our performance. Like you have your bylaws, municipal bylaws stating you need to have a so and so. There is building code saying you need to have 300 lux levels in a working space. That's about making it conducive for humans to use it. So at every level of our designing spaces, constructing spaces, human-centric aspect has been pushed both by the regulations, by national building codes and municipal authorities, and also as moral practices, like you give a ramp for physically challenged to access space. That's empathy in action while designing. So why are we still? I think we've hit the paramount of making everything human-centric, right? So then at a particular point, there has also been looking back into what we've been doing. So Copenhagen is a great example. The city Copenhagen, they demotorized the city. They said the city is built for humans, not for motor vehicles. At a larger context, that's a very good act of being human-centric in approach. At a very micro level, your regulations pertaining to safety, railings for people not to fall, safety, and all these are being human-centric. But I think all these are being done rather in isolation from the larger context, and there should be a very thorough insight into how do we harmonize what we build with the larger context. That's something that not really many people talk. I'll give you an example. A kids play area, today's kids play area. If someone does it in their house or in a public park or in a school, you don't find sharp corners, you don't find hard edges. In a trampoline park, kid jumps from 30 feet above, he doesn't get hurt. So that kid will never learn what is gravity, what is the risk that he can take, to what extent can he push himself to take that risk. Versus the playground being a park, when the same kid is climbing up trees, he would know to what extent can he go on a branch, where it fails. This is called risk-taking ability. Now this is being much more in sync, much more in sync with the larger context. So you apply this, I'm just giving a small example, but if you apply this of harmonizing every aspect of human life and harmonizing the spaces that we build with the larger context, everything that is around us, I think that makes humans experience life in holistic manner. Like we did one house, one weekend home recently in the outskirts of the city, where the client came to us. He said they built a couple of houses till now, plush houses in city. So they came to us to build a weekend home. I said, well and good. What is that you're looking for? Their brief was just about having a space to socialize and relax and unwind. But we took it a step forward. We said, okay, fine, you've been living in plush environment till now. Let me give you an environment, built environment that is raw, that is very, very close to what nature gives you as material. Be it stone, be it mud, be it openness, be it shades, whatever nature gives you. So that house has been done with material that is least processed from its natural form. Walls are rough, floor is processed to a level that it can give a level platform, but not really so smooth. So every aspect of that house, it turns into a pavilion. That house turns into a pavilion, making them get more engaged with all forces of nature. You don't see nature in an isolated fashion through a glass window, right? Now, having a couple of trees around built environment, people call it, architects call it, we are in sync with nature. But that's not holistic experience of it. So I find, so that client keeps sending me videos of their kids taking pictures of birds roosting on the trees and weaver birds building their nests, which they usually go to a zoo to see all this stuff. It's happening right there in their house. There is a credible proof that you can find that kids, when they grow up with a lot of nature around, empathy comes naturally to them. you don't have to teach them to be empathetic to the surroundings. So I think harmonizing our spaces with the larger context is a direct way to humanize life and built environment.
Very nice, Shrikant, because I think so from the world of digital iPad and getting, I was just looking at one crib over here and I said that they had a camera, they had a button which was pushing in, and I said, within no time that kid will learn how to push that bed up and jump out of that bed in no time, within couple of months, with this in this techno-savvy digital world which is there. Because most of the kids come to this world with a mobile or an iPhone, iPad in tab with in their hands. You have raised a very fundamentally a great point, but I feel as an architect, do we all agree here that human centricity is the only thing which we have to keep while we are designing, keep in mind while we are designing a space? Or I feel we should look at a larger perspective, a more global or more larger perspective of humanity-centric designs which should be created. Amit, what is your take, and how if given an opportunity or whatever project if you are doing, how do you think you are managing as an architect the humanity-centric part of it?
That was the point I was trying to make. So if you actually see the interaction of human hours interaction with a particular space, so I'll give you a very simple mathematics. So a rich man's house that we all typically do, a rich person's house that we all typically do, and they are our patrons, and most of us get our livelihood out of that. So a family of 4 who spend not more than, with their holidays and travels and this and that, not more than an average of 6 hours per day in that house over a span of next 10-15 years, and actually see the interaction of human beings while constructing that house. Right from, the marble being mined, right from all the, and we all, it's the latest buzzword now, we use crafts in our projects, and we all do, I'm not undermining that, and that's a beautiful thing. But so the time spent in weaving those curtains or those carpets or those bedspreads, the time spent in nurturing the plants around that house, and that's a continuous work for the food being cooked in that house. So the interaction, so the primary occupants are 4 who spend much less time, much less, exponential less time than the support teams around that. Be it their full-time help, be it their part-time help, be it the people who are organized into servicing that space. So the quantum of that interaction is equally, if not more important, just by the sheer magnitude of their time being spent in that environment or around that environment or to service that environment. And that's always sets me thinking, and that's what the point they are all trying to make is when you say humanity-centric, it's the whole ecosystem. And you cannot separate a human from humanity. Nobody is living in isolation. Nobody is living on whatever island Darwin went on, or I think. We all are social animals. We all need support structures around us, and our spaces interact with multiple level of people. Like when you're doing a hospital, we all talk about the patient's comfort, but the first and foremost is the comfort of the nurses who spent 12-hour shifts every day for months and years. When you're doing retail spaces, we talk about the sales staff which is present on that floor, who don't even see daylight outside. They're spending all their waking hours in that artificial environment inside a shopping center. So the design has to be so inclusive for the overall ecosystem. If we are not doing a very concerted effort to do that, then we are failing ourselves.
So it's a great point. When you look at a residence, I feel that we are looking at an individual or a very small segment of a society, that is the family, in terms of human-centricness, but there is a large humanity-centric ecosystem which surrounds that human-centric design. both of you guys are designing a lot of public spaces and especially socializing spaces like restaurants. And I want both of you to express with an example, how do you feel that when you are doing that, how it is more effective on a public space and how we are taking care of humanity-centric aspect of in those designs. Ayush, can we start with you? Arshina. Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Can I call humanity-centric design a larger humanity? Is it about the design solutions for the whole humanity? Then it's only one challenge that we're facing, that is the natural debacle that's happening, sustainability. That's the only challenge the entire humanity is facing. So if I have to call anything that should be humanity-centric, it is as simple as we call it sustainable design. Because that's aimed at the entire humanity so that we don't leave Earth and go to some other planet.
I think so. I would like to disagree a little portion of it. It is not only about sustainability, but it is about lot more than sustainability because it affects our lifestyle from everything, from lifestyle to I would say from various age group when you are designing the complete. You mentioned a very important point of a tree. A child climbing a tree is pushing his limits and he understands where the limits are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas somebody trying to climb a tree on an iPad or on a pad, he never realizes what heights he is scaling it.
He
up.
doesn't know strength of
But
material,
he learns the
gravity,
limits of his
friction.
coding capabilities.
So that's
also a
thrill
challenge,
which is
and
there.
that's a life skill these days.
Yeah.
You can't take that away.
So the guy who learns it on iPad has to take science classes to understand gravity and weight and friction and strength of material. So that doesn't come naturally. In the spaces that we do, we basically chose public spaces to work more on public spaces because impact of thought behind the design, the impact on people is much wider in public spaces compared to a greatly designed private home sitting somewhere in the corner. In its lifetime, a private home might impact about 1,000-1,500 people. A public space can impact larger crowd, and the takeaway of that crowd can be different from the way they experience the space. Some people can take away how climatic aspects are dealt in a space they experience. Some people can take away the aspect of materiality. But if all these things are conscious, all these aspects are consciously addressed in public spaces, I think we would be impacting them right at the base level of understanding built environment. And that is a larger responsibility, I would say, that stays on architects who design public spaces to be human-centric and to be aware of what we are going to present.
I would probably step back. I don't come from the hardcore space design, but what I would feel is that can we create spaces that make one want to be a better person, individually or collectively? And it's a very wide open thing there. A better person in a different context, a better person at work, a better person at home. But the fact is that we are a very complex being. We all in our own minds, the one place we all live in, our real home is inside here. We all have our own aspirations, our own hopes and wishes and dreams and whatever. So if the spaces that we work in allow them to be better at who they are, better at who they imagine, individually or collectively, can a restaurant make a family come together better? Can a workspace make a person's sort of will or drive, can that make it better? So I think that I don't know whether there's a Ramban, so to say, for human-centric design, but I do know that spaces have a very profound impact. And instead of saying it human-centric, if we say it is a individual-centric exercise that is done collectively. आप में से अगर कोई फतेहपुर सीकरी गया है क्या? Yeah. So Fatehpur Sikri, you see the quarters where Akbar used to stay very short, 7-foot high ceilings. The guy was a short guy. Yeah. It worked for him because it was his scale. But in his throne room, he had a big cross and he was sitting on top of a pillar in the center. He was dealing with insecurities of being short. Yeah. He had to appear tall. So all these spaces responded to his individuality to make it work. Here in this lifetime, we're looking at spaces where many individuals come together, and to say a common thing that's good for everyone or a common aspiration is impossible. But yet, there are some things that we all would say, yes, this makes me feel good about who I am, about why I was born. Why am I here and who am I? So I would probably scale back and say possibly that's another way to look at it.
So, quoting to your example, I'll tell you, I feel that I have an opinion which I would like to cross on it when I do my closing. But I want to, before we try to, I close this session, I want to understand, in this world of AI, where everybody is going back to ChatGPT and trying to find out solutions, do you think that human-centric designs, I think so, our designs need to have emotions. Are we getting there with emotions, or we are? What is that you feel is going to be the end results if you start using your AI as a tool to design the human-centric spaces?
Maybe they'll do a better job.
Again, sorry?
Maybe AI will do a better job. I mean, when I see a glass enclosed building and 99 buildings being built across the globe, across geographies, I mean, what sense does it make that a building in Chennai looks like a building in California, looks like a building in Scandinavia, looks like a building in Sydney? They all look insanely similar. Is there any logic to it? That's stupidity to a different level. So 99% human behavior, 99% of the times is stupid.
Human stupidity versus artificial intelligence.
So I believe AI will do a much better job of. Having said that,
But do you think the emotions are going to be expressed in that?
No, emotions come from within. So when it comes to technology, I have a very simple thing. And when you say, when computers started saying, we all used to say from my age, your age, we will probably tell, younger students and all, you should know how to draft. You should know how to sketch. You should not be doing everything on computer. Hand sketching is so important. And whenever somebody would say that, I would just tell them, do you know how to use log tables anymore? You use a fucking calculator now, no? Why would you spend your time using log tables to do simple calculations when you have a calculator ready? Why do you want to spend your time and effort learning tables? I mean, I remember memorizing tables through and through, but I think it's a waste of human effort today to learn tables. It's available to me and I can put my hand to take that. So that's the difference between, a migratory bird knows I need to migrate from Siberia to Haryana, and they have been doing it for eons. But how human beings are different from other animals is like we build on our learnings. We add to our learnings. So embrace technology in a way that it makes me happier. And connections with nature, connections with human beings is a basic human need. That always needs to be balanced. And that has to be done individually, collectively. That's everybody's individual journey. Nothing can replace that. But that could have been done earlier also. People would stay cooped up in interior spaces. People would refuse to interact with others or with nature, or people will choose to. That's everybody's individual journey. But technology is a great enabler. We as human beings are living better lives, longer lives than ever before in history. Now we used to choose to use technology to kill each other, or to provide better healthcare and food to each other, or to create more plastic. That's up to us. And I said, we are creating more plastic, we are doing more war, people are going hungry. That's our stupidity, nothing more.
And more tariffs.
Totally.
So I think so the job of any tool is to make things more, faster, speeden up. What any tool does, gives us the option to use that time for something else. So it is not the AI that is a challenge. AI is a tool. It will do better at whatever you ask for it to do. The question is, what do you do with the time you've saved? We spend, washing machine आ गई, अब ये आ गया, वो आ गया, सब कुछ कितना जल्दी हो रहा है, लेकिन अभी भी लोगों के पास टाइम नहीं है. So what's this big irony? So AI, unfortunately, will not make us freer. It'll just make us more and more occupied. It'll make us fall in love with the image that we've created. And we see it all the time. People come with Pinterest and say, ye acha hai. Not because it's acha hai, bura hai, kyunki maine dhoonda hai. You know, IKEA has a very nice trick. You know, you are asked to assemble furniture, right? No matter how crap the furniture is, but because you assembled it, you love it. AI, and especially the world of images, will make you love it not because of what it is, but because you prompted it to be so.
So in short, it is evoking your emotions.
Pretty much.
Okay. Shrikant, what about you? What's your take?
AI, I think AI is still in a stage where it is largely dependent on the one who's prompting it. So if we are talking about emotions being carried out into designs and then forward, it is still largely in the intuition of the one who's prompting it. But AI is fun, I think, until it becomes smarter than the smartest one on the planet with all its emotional quotient up high. And I don't think we need to worry.
Definitely, nobody should worry. We should adopt it, and we should work along with it, because that is what I feel about it also. So we have very limited time. I want one line from you guys. What would you do to make life much more better for yourself only?
I think we all need more empathy. That will make life better for everybody around us.
For myself, quit smoking. Quit smoking.
I have two words: Chintan, Manan.
माया के साथ में चिंतन, यानी कि
Manan or Chintan.
और मनन और चिंतन. मैंने सुना माया. मैं बोला माया लेके आएगा तो चिंतन तो करना ही पड़ेगा.
You have been busy all morning. I've been seeing that.
So guys, I think so. We had some very good thought process which was bounced here in between us. I believe as an architect, yes, we need to be human-centric, and I feel that if you take a larger perspective in mind, you will definitely do a better design. If you think about the larger society of benefiting it and doing good for the society, that is humanity, you will automatically do a better for an individual as well, because you are thinking about a larger perspective. To answer this, how design behaves in terms of what Ayush was just mentioning, I want to quote a simple and a very small example. You go to a temple and you look at the Bhagwan ka sanctum over there, Bhagwan ki murti. You enter through a very small door. How design makes a lot of difference. This is all human-centric. You are made to bow down in order to enter into the garbha of the temple. Okay? When you go to the church, you enter into a very large door and you see a Christ at a human scale up there looking down at you. Both are giving the similar expression. Both are human-centric. And yet they are giving the same message. God is there. You have to either He is looking down at you, you are minusculated in that scale. Now, this is what design is all about. With AI, without AI, we all need to understand how design plays important role for us and how design can change the lifestyle, how design can make you feel or evoke your emotions when you design as an architect or a designer, how the emotions can be evoked by your design expressions. this is something which is very, very important for us. Thank you guys. Thank you for being with me. And I think so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to compliment Design Democracy. Thank them for inviting us first and foremost, and thank and compliment them that they started this panel discussion right on dot. It was in some couple of years that this is the first panel discussion I have started in time and ended it in time. I think so they deserve this applause.
Thank you so much. Incredible to hear your thoughts.